Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Tuesday. It's June 11th. This will be our chart listing for the day. A quick look at our daily chart. You can see we're still looking a little congested here, but we did rally. Made a new. We didn't quite make a new high, I don't believe, but that high is 53.85.50. 53.80. Yeah, we did make a new high, so definitely closed on a new high, but it looks like we made a new high as well for this contract. So this thing continues to push higher. Again, it does still look a little congested, and so we may still be going sideways here. We'll have to see what tomorrow brings, but it looks like we're going higher here, basically, is what it looks like to me. So let's flip over to our 2,000 tick chart, and you can kind of see what the day looks like. Okay, here's a broader look at the 2,000 tick chart. We had two legs down, basically, and then we rallied with two legs up, and once again late in the afternoon they rallied it strongly into the close. So we continue to see that quite often. The volume gets low, this thing rallies up into the close. So definitely, I mean, we spent most of the day in an upward channel, or an upward trend channel, and we did go sideways a little bit here in midday, but for the most part, it was an upward day. And you can see the blue channel there working up. It looks like to me we had an overshoot up here. Everything's fitting nicely this way. Looks like we had a little overshoot that tried to reverse and then went higher again. There were a couple of different ways. Let me zoom on in here to see this morning. Really, the way I played it was this first trend down, and then we had a little correction here, and this trend had played out with a new low here. And then we really started another trend down here, which is how I played it. But there is this gray channel, and they both come out to the same, you come out with the same results. You basically get a break in the same place almost. And the gray channel, you get an overshoot, or I'm sorry, the lighter blue tighter channel, you get an overshoot and it reverses. Here you get a break of somewhat and a new low and it reverses. So I think you come out with the same results either way. So it doesn't really matter how you see it overall, I don't think. But 7 o'clock came right in here as we're rallying up. And we do get a triple test right here, but we're still in this channel, so I don't think you can take this yet. It would have worked, but you got to play it. You got to play it by the rules. And we get another test here. If you had a good signal bar, you can see on my chart it was just a little too much dim, and it did break higher and turn down. But I don't think that's a bar you necessarily want to play an engulfing bar on. So you really have to wait for this to close. If you had a little better, I mean, it's really close, but I don't think it quite closes in this lower 1/3. I'll mark it green all the same because we've tested that multiple times, but I'm not crazy about it. The lower high comes here, which normally I'd say take that, but you can see we'd bounced at the midline multiple times, so I don't think it's wise to take that trade either. So I think you just have to kind of sit tight there. And then, of course, we start working sideways down here. I did not mark this trade because of the downsloping trend line. Plus, it's right back into the support resistance. It's like we went into a tighter range down here, to be honest. And so if you were reading it like that, maybe you still take that long on a triple test. Of course, I skipped over this one. It's a triple test plus it's right off the EMA, and if you had the gray channel drawn, then it's off the key entry point. It confirms it too. If you didn't have it drawn, then it's just a triple test. It's also a first entry, second entry. So there's several different ways to look at that one. And of course down here you get a triple test. It does make a new low. That's another reason maybe you skip that one. Of course, this lower high here, I marked it green just simply because you got to go short into that support right there. So I don't know that you necessarily want to take that, but it's if you're playing that gray channel, I'd say you just about have to take that trade. If you're playing it, let me just move this over momentarily. If you see, if you're playing this other channel, it doesn't get confirmed to here, and then it looks really congested too. So it just depends on how you're playing it. But if you're playing this down sloping trend, the gray one, I think you're okay to go short there. I still make it green. There's not a lot of room to the low. So either way, it ends up working, but it's not a perfect setup. And of course, you don't really get a chance to enter this big, unless you entered up here and were able to hold on, you don't get a chance to really partake of this really nice sell-off here. It just got overdone here, in my opinion. If it's the gray channel, it's a break and a new low. Either way, it still got overdone. And we rally back up here. It turns down off pretty much off this other trend line again, but no signal bar. Then it comes back. And the next thing you know, we're trending higher. And I don't see any way to get long until you get this second entry right here. Notice the new high. First entry comes, and then it breaks lower first and turns up. You can trade that on the engulfing bar. It's a very bearish bar, or you can wait for that to close. If you wait for that to close, you don't have as much room to the highs, but you could I still think you're okay to trade that either way because it's right off that key entry point that was confirmed here, and that just further confirms it. And then we get another second entry here, and a lot of people may not see this one. Notice this new high, and it breaks higher and then turns back down, and then it turns up again. So when it breaks above that bar, it's a second entry, but I don't think you can go long there. Maybe you call this a higher low. It still looks like two legs back, but at the same time, it's not a very good signal bar. And what it looks like to me is we've got a channel working up, and then we fold it over into a flatter channel. So it's really hard to know that right in here, but I don't think there's really any good entries until we get further up here. By the time we get up here, it's clear to see you got a first entry, second entry right off a key entry point. And again, it breaks lower first and turns up. That's an engulfing bar. That's very bearish. I think you can trade it on the engulfing bar or wait till it closes, either one. This runs on up, makes a little double top up here, and then we get a break of these two original ones, and you wouldn't have this big blue one yet, so you're just playing the gray ones, the blue, the tighter gray blue one and the gray one. So much on here, it's getting kind of confusing, but anyway, it runs down, first entry, and then there's a second entry right there. Technically, by the counts, it's not, but this is a double top, and you do get a break. I was a little wary of this one just because of where it happens at. It does make a double bottom there, but we didn't quite get, there's nothing down here, but you would still expect a retest of the highs. So I think you could take that trade. I think it's a little bit aggressive. I think you really need a higher low here, and you just don't get one. It just runs up all the way up. I don't know if it quite even makes a new high. Let me look at that. Yes, it does make a new high, and then it reverses. And it's tempting to go short right there. You could argue that's a triple test. I'd like to see a little more space between those two. Really, I just look at that as a double top. It's not a second entry either, although it does look like two legs up. So it's another one you might argue, hey, if you want to be aggressive. And then we get a pretty good correction here. And then we're just chopping sideways. We do get a triple test down here. Notice you get a break of this, move to a new low, then you get another leg down, and you also get a triple test. I like going long right there. It takes it a minute to work out, but then it comes back, and now you set this trend line. I would draw that just to be safe. It bounces there. There's not really a setup there, but it runs back up here, and of course you get a double top here, and of course this has a break and a couple of legs up and a very bearish bar. I like going short there. It takes it a minute, but it works out. This is why I always say, once you take your trade, once you commit to it, don't monkey around with it. just let it play out one way or the other. I mean, that is a little bigger bar, 11 ticks. I mean, it's not huge, but this is why you don't mess around, because this probably scared out a lot of people, and the trade ends up going exactly where you think it does. So, and then of course down here it bounces right off the trend line, and now you got it confirmed. This bigger, darker blue two-tiered channel working up is confirmed, and you got plenty of room back up. This turns out to be a really nice move. Get a close outside a new high, and then you make you push one more time up, and you really make a double top, and then you get a lower high here, and this breaks higher first and turns down. You can't trade that on the engulfing bar. Wait for it to close. If it closes bearish, take it, because this was a tight channel here, or range, or congestion, whatever you want to call this. Not a channel, but a range or congestion. And you'd expect prices to come back and test it, even if they're going higher. And that's exactly what happens. We actually come all the way back and test the trend line, and it holds. Unfortunately, you don't get a setup there. You might say there's a failure here, failed second entry short, that kind of sets up a continuation pattern. So it's a possibility. Most of you are better off to leave those alone. It's very advanced. Turns out to be a nice move up. You get a break, and it just takes off again. There's no real setup here that you can get in. You just have to kind of watch that one go. And again, we get overdone to the upside here. And I think this is an overshoot. And we make a double top, slightly lower high double top, and then another lower high. And this one actually has a new low, and you get a first entry, then it turns back up and breaks higher, then turns back down. You could trade that as a second entry short on the engulfing bar if you see that, or you could wait for it closes and still take that trade. Normally I'd tell you don't take any shorts in an uptrend, but we had this overshoot, and we've tried multiple times to go higher. It looks like we're kind of working sideways here, and each time we're making a lower low, so that's a good sign that we may go lower here. Then it comes back and we get a triple test. The only problem with this one is we're still in this channel. You do get a close outside a new high all in one bar. I think you need to wait on a lower high here to be sure, but maybe you take that. I marked it green. And then you get your lower high here with a big bearish signal bar. I like going short there. And of course that takes us into 230. I don't see anything else here you can really take. So this actually looks like two legs back, but you don't get a signal bar. This has a good signal bar here, but you could have just been pulling back to fill that little gap, and it could have shot higher. It's just a first entry anyway, so you can't really take it. And that pretty much closed up our day. But notice you measure this first leg up, and then there was our correction, and then you look for a second leg, and you can see we went a little higher than that, but we ended up pushing even higher than that in the after 230. But that doesn't surprise me at all, and it's not uncommon to get it. But notice how we didn't go much further than that at all before we got a correction. That would have been a good target. But there it is. That's how I saw it. Those are the trades I saw. Not a lot of trades today, but they're spread out, so you didn't have to sit and wait and wait and wait and be as patient. You had some steady trades coming every 30 minutes to an hour or so, and so a little better as far as that went today. You really had to be patient right around lunch. And notice how much price action we had up until lunchtime, and then how low the volume was after that. I reloaded this chart just to be sure I wasn't missing something and it didn't add anything back in, so I'm pretty sure that chart is correct. I usually step out at lunchtime, and sometimes when I'm gone at lunch, something, I don't know, maybe my chart freezes or something, and I've been known to miss something there. So I did reload it just to make sure that was correct. And really from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, there's not much volume there. This market's really odd. I mean, it's not uncommon to be slow this time of year, but to just keep rallying like this on very low volume, I'm suspect of this market. Well, we've talked about it several times. I don't trust it. I think they're going to keep it propped up all the way into the election. They're not going to let it sell off before then. in my opinion, unless they just can't control it anymore. We do have, I believe tomorrow is FOMC news. So if it is, be prepared for that. Be flat before noon Central Standard Time. You have to figure out whatever time zone you're in. The news comes out at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time, so do the math, figure out where it comes out in your time zone, and be flat an hour prior. If you're in Central Standard Time or Central Zone, then be flat by noon. If you're in Eastern Time, obviously you'd be flat by 11 because it'll come out at 12 your time, and you just have to do the math based on where you're at. But be flat an hour prior on that one. Very smart to do that. Don't try to trade that. Don't get caught in the trade that hour, because sometimes that last hour it'll get stuck in something like this real tight and you can't get out of it. It won't move 4 ticks, and the next thing the news hits and you get whipsawed. And it'll probably go exactly where you expected, you were betting on it to go, but it'll go the other direction first and you'll get stopped out. So just be aware of that. Be flat. Don't monkey around with that FOMC stuff. Some of these other news items, I mean, lately the way the market is and the way the economy is, anything that's red that comes out economic wise, I'd be flat. Most of the time it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but on this FOMC, don't play around with that. Be flat an hour before, because any kind of slight surprise and this market could go haywire. It could go straight up or straight down. So it's really kind of hard to know what's going to happen, because I think the Fed is stuck between a rock and a hard place. They're expecting rate cuts or to not raise rates at least, and I don't know that I don't think they can cut rates. I think they've got themselves hung in a precarious position here. Inflation's, I mean, we all see the inflation is still going, still roaring. Every now and then one of these reports will come out and it'll look a little less than what they thought, and the market rallies on it. But I think they're going to end up having to raise rates, or at the very least they're not going to be cutting them for a while. So anyway, we'll see. Just be flat. Don't bet on it. Don't take any chances on it. And I'm going to wrap it up. That pretty much does it for today. We'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll see if I'm correct on the FOMC news. I need to look that up, but I'm pretty sure it's tomorrow. And if I'm correct on that, then we'll see what tomorrow brings. But anyway, that's going to do it for today. We'll be back again tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.